Welcome to the creative nonfiction community. I am your host, Allison Lane, and it is my joy to be here and make this space available and work for everybody. Now, today's topic is how to promote your book, your expertise, and yourself. And that is, it's a sticky wicket because there's a really big mistake that people make that, this is true of writers, but it's also true of artists. It's true of any kind of creator. And that is where they go for the wallet. So that is where that person would say, so I'm going to use my Burt's Bees. This is my ever-present prop. Like, don't you want to buy this? It's available now, or worse, coming soon. Who gives a poo? Because my lips are chapped today, right? Or I have a hankering for orange blossom and pistachio lip butter today, but now you're telling me I can't buy it today? The link is not even available today? Well, geez, you just took the wind out of my sails. Now, not only did you inoculate me from the exciting news that it's available, but now you gave me a big Debbie Downer because you got me excited about something, and now I think you're full of poo. So we don't ever want to announce that we're about to announce something, because that's not an announcement. That's spilling your own beans. Okay. We also don't want to sell. Selling smells awful. Okay, it's not a way to go, because no one wants to be sold your book, your birdhouse, your whatever it is. What they want is, they'll actually tell you, I love this feeling of empowerment I get when I read memoir by people who have been through a huge challenge. Oh, really? Well, I can talk to you about this huge challenge. Forget that there's a book, right? People want you, whether your book is available or whether you're available to them on your Instagram account, or you're doing some mad TikToks, or you're showing up at a conference. So who are you to tell them what doorway they have to go through in order to get a little bit closer to you? Because you're the goods, like you are the brand. The book is the product, or your appearance at the conference is the product. And what if they don't want that? What if they want to go to and attend your webinar, and because they live in I don't know, Tuscaloosa, and you're not actually going through there on your self-funded book tour. So you don't know where they will engage with you, and maybe they'll never buy your book, but maybe they'll be the ones commenting on your article that gets published in the Washington Post, and they'll be the ones celebrating that. So when you are trying to promote your book, what you're really doing is expanding your readers' opportunity to engage with you, because there are many, many doorways into that engagement. And that is why every big brand has 3 advertising campaigns running simultaneously all the time, and you don't recognize it. So if you think about every insurance company, they have some campaign where it's a personality campaign. So if you think about that gecko, the Geico gecko, there's the gecko, and it's quirky, and aren't you going to feel good about that brand because now you know that the brand has a personality, right? And that same brand has an ad campaign where the gecko is not there. at all. It is that other campaign is about whatever like package they're selling at the moment. So it's price driven, because some people who need insurance are looking at connecting with a brand, and some people are looking at the dollars and cents, and some people want the third is a kind of buy now, like sort of they hang their hat on like this season or this moment in time, or you have a 16-year-old and you know that they're going to crash your car because they can't be left alone without burning the house down. So they have these situational campaigns, they have a brand campaign, and they have a price campaign all the time. So you've got to think about your audience as a collection of people, because an audience is a dehumanizing thing, right? We say audience, but like that's not you can't point to that. It is a collection of individuals who want they already know what they want from you. They want to know something that you know. They want to learn from you, same sort of thing. They want to be able to do what you've done, or they simply want a little bit more access to you to be aware of whatever it is that you're sharing. So that could be maybe you're solving their problem, maybe you're helping them achieve their great desire, maybe you're entertaining them, maybe you're this word like edutaining, like you're a little bit educating, a little bit entertaining. So whatever they want from you, you don't have to figure it out. Instead, here is how you find the people who are really out, they're already out there, and you don't have to go hunting for them or collect them or arrange for them to all meet in this one place and like blow a big siren and say like, oh, everybody come here, because they're already together. So here's how you find them. This is going to blow your mind. Google, you know what it is that you provide, right? Like, let James, I'm looking at you because I know your book because it was freaking good. And you know that you are essentially a sports historian. You've written a memoir. You've written this like a historical look back. It is freaking fascinating about this one moment in time. And those same people are Googling like, what's the story about Game 7 again in, was it 1971? 1970, you can put it in the chat. Oh, no, you can say it, shout it out.
It's about thank you. It was about the 2019 World Series, but we bring the 1970s in from when I grew up being a baseball fan.
Yes, yeah. So there are all those people are, I said 1971 because that's when I was born. So I don't know. And that I'm from Maryland, and so you have this Maryland connection. So all those people, they're also huge fans of those teams. They love those stories of those experiences because they had the same ones. So when you Google like who attended this particular game, or who can name all however many players are on a baseball team in this particular year, those are your people. They are already together. And whatever comes up, whatever media comes up, whatever associations, affinity groups, like the like Greater Metropolitan Club of 19 of like childhood baseball fanatics from the 1970s, they're all together because they already love that topic, or they're already interested in reliving that and also carrying forward those stories. Let me talk about Allison Hong Merrill's story. Okay, so she wrote 99 Fire Hoops, and her book is about, it's really about betrayal. But when she was 15, she betrayed her father and didn't want to worship in the same religion that the family did. And that was, that was mind-blowing for that family, for that man, because you're supposed to be submissive because she's from Taiwan, and blew his mind and couldn't believe it. So he, of course, disowned her, and as one would, right? This is sarcasm. And then she went to college and got married. And one day when she was out for 2 hours, her husband moved out and took all their stuff and cleaned out their bank account. So now she has written this book that's about, it's not about that. It's about standing on your own 2 feet. It's about having to build an entire network and the skill to trust again. It's about clashing cultures and about knowing yourself even as a teenager and having enough agency to say, I don't want that, I'm going to do this instead. Like, I don't think that I would. Well, I know that I wouldn't have, because I probably would have, but behind my mother's back. That's not the same thing. So she, of course, this year, since her book came out, her book has won 30 some awards. So it's unheard of, and was published by a hybrid publisher. So there are lots of ways to publish now, but she's out there meeting these people because she is has paved her own way. So her book is not about people. It's not like people are out there saying, I wish I could read a book that's about a Taiwanese teenager. Like, oh. And when she speaks, she doesn't dig into, like, let me tell you the story that's in my book. No, she is a spokesperson for her themes, for what she stands for. And she and I have only talked one time, and it was yesterday, because I fangirled her a little bit, and she agreed to meet with me. And so we did talk for a snippet of time, and I'm struck by how she's showing up, because people want to be able to talk about their cultures, their clashes, how they've struck out, or how they should, or what would she do. And sometimes she sells a book, but sometimes she gains a fan who then is going to show up or tell a friend about her and her next event. And that is how you promote your book, because your book promotion does not have a start and stop. Your book promotion is a spike in your overall campaign of promoting you. So there's no like, when should I start promoting my book? Because I get that question a lot. When should I start? I've heard I should start 4 months before the book is published. That is hooey, because there's no start and there's no stop, because you are still you, and people still want access to you. You're not coming out of your groundhog hole so that you can talk about your book and then like going away again, like see you next year. No. And you're always trying to engage with people. What else do they need that you have? What other knowledge or story or experience or what can you give them permission to do? Now, let's see. Ooh, I love a challenge. I'm going to open this up, and Deborah Green, you're writing a book about the Spanish Civil War, and you haven't found many groups on Google or elsewhere. First of all, so you're a historian. So the historians, the National Historians Association conference, I think next year is in Philadelphia. So I would get your tuchus over there. I would also join the National Association, the Journalists Association, because they're all historians. And so rub elbows with some peers, because they're also writing, about moments in time like this. So it might not be a fan group, but boy, by reverse engineering whatever they're doing, whatever speaking engagements they're getting paid for, because we do like to be paid for our speaking engagements, and more than, gas money, and especially even if it's on Zoom, period. So you could, for sure, oh my gosh, universities, colleges, do you speak Spanish? Yeah, I would look at all the themes that your book delivers on. Small uprisings, what can we learn? There's really so much. So it might not be an affinity group, and Mona says, how about the Daughters of the Spanish Civil War veterans? Interesting. And Deborah, I would also look at, if you follow Kim Clark, who's in this group, and she is a historian as well, although she did not identify as that until I got a hold of her and built her marketing roadmap as an example for this group. She very nicely let me build out a roadmap, because I wanted to show how, with some planning, you can aim higher and think bigger for yourself. So if you follow her, she's lovely. I think this was 2 years ago, she still has an agent, and had a tremendous book that was going out on submission, and it was never the right time. And her agent was saying, oh, it's not the right time. And I said, I think you need to get a couple things published. And she said, great, and she's in Michigan. She was going to pitch like the local Michigan Times, whatever, from her hometown. And I think some of you might have attended, maybe Rachel was there. And I was like, I don't understand. Who gives a crap about your hometown paper? You work as a historian for the University of Michigan. That alumni magazine by itself is where I would start. But also, you already have this street cred, but because, she saw herself as the title of her job, like, oh, I'm the manager of alumni communication or something. I'm like, that's code for historian. That's University of Michigan historian for a student body of cajillions, come on. So she, instead of pitching her hometown paper, she pitched, we identified a couple of angles where she could talk around her book, which is about the 200,000 men who lost their lives in World War II, who then were left, their bodies were in Europe, and over the course of years had to be like recovered and brought back to the United States, and what that process was like, because that's how her grandfather died. And so she had a personal connection, but also all of this knowledge. So she pitched the Washington Post, the Smithsonian. Like, go big or go home, because this group is, we're grown-ups. And even if you think, well, I'm just starting out and I've never pitched anything, well, you know what? This group has. So you don't have to start at step one. You just ask for what you need. Plus, I'm a lifelong marketer. And I quit my big time corporate job because I was tired of selling soap. And I would much more prefer to be promoting all of you and teaching you how to promote yourselves, because please don't hire a publicist. Because I'm a publicist, but also unless you're like, I have a bandwidth issue. But if you have the money to spend $10,000 a month on a publicist, then just know that they are also not going to post on social for you. And they're not going to update your website. And then when you think, and they're not going to media train you, but I'll do it. And, oh, maybe I should do a little media training here next year. Yeah, that'll be fun, right? Do a little media training. Yeah, Eileen's going, yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. This is like a stream of consciousness for me. So, but Kim, back to Deborah, look at Kim and look at where she's been published and follow her, because it's not like she's, you know, first of all, she has a full-time job and a full-time life, and she's a grandmother, and she and her husband eat out. They really like to eat out. Like, they are foodies. So they're always like at a cool restaurant. And then every once in a while, she has an article come out, and it's like a doozy. And what she said in a post a couple weeks ago was, ever since I got that article, or that it was more of an article than an essay, the American Historical Society just assumes I'm the de facto expert. Like, yeah, because maybe you are. Because if no one else is telling that story, sharing that message, offering that insight to people, then you're the expert. And that's a quote, and it applies to all of you. If nobody else is sharing that story, sharing that insight, giving people the opportunity of awareness, not to learn, because to learn they want to accept, but the opportunity to become aware, that if no one else is doing that, then you're up. So there, you're elected. Now, we have a couple questions. So the first question was, how do I find agents and know how to query? And that question it's a biggie. But the real question is, how do I find the names and the contact information for agents? Couple first steps. manuscriptwishlist.com. Okay, so that is a free, and we like free, that is a free website where agents actually self-select, and they put their information in, and they say what they're looking for. And it's searchable, and it's sort of on a slow server. So when you click search, you'll click nonfiction and your topic, like say it's psychology, and you click go, and you will like count to 5, really. And you will see a bunch of agents, I mean, dozens, who are like, yes, I'm interested. Now, don't just pitch them. Go to their websites. Every one of them says, here's my name, here's what I'm looking for. So I always, when I'm working with people one-on-one, I go to the website, I look at what they're posting on Instagram and Twitter, and specifically, I do searches for the hashtag MSWL, because that is what they tag when they're doing something that says like, hey, I'm looking for queries about the Spanish Civil War. Like, great, well, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right, Deborah? So you'd be surprised how specific they get. So use all your keywords in Twitter, or just go through and take a look, and you'll be able to tell, like, are they posting the sort of things I like, or do they seem to be posting a lot of like romance novels, but they also want to dip their toe in nonfiction, like relationship management. I don't know. And you might just get a gut feeling like, great, or I'm going to keep looking. So that's one way, manuscript list. The second way is Publishers Marketplace. It's an industry, call it resource. It's free. It has a newsletter called the Daily Lunch, or the whatever it is. It's sign up for the newsletter. And every day at lunchtime, you will get an email that says the like news of the day, like so-and-so editor moved to wherever. You don't care about that. What you care about are the daily deals, because they're organized by genre, and you'll be able to see, well, first of all, who got a book deal, and the details of the deal, what the book is about, who the agent was, and who the acquiring editor was at the publisher. So that enables you to pretty much identify, like, oh, that book would be, I'm using that author's last book as a comp. Huh. I wonder if that agent would these are really like companion books, not competitors, but companions. So that's also how I find agents. And when I develop agent lists for people, I curate the heck out of them. And sometimes I come up with 40 or 90. I think 90 is the most I've ever come up with, but I've never needed to use that because my research is good. And so my clients usually every time get interest on their first round of querying. But that is because it's all about the marketing hook, and it's about the comps, and the comps make the sales forecast. So the fourth, am I on to 4 or 3? The third way to find agents is to, one, there's a webinar I did a while ago. It's called Query Smart. It's live and public and available. It's on YouTube. Okay, so that was question 1. Next question. This is about newsletters. Okay, this writer says, I started a newsletter on Substack, hearing it's important to do, right? And I've posted it on Twitter and Facebook and emailed it to some friends, and I've worked hard to make it attractive and interesting. And I'm surprised how few people are signing up, and I feel like I'm not doing something right. Any tips? Yes, I have tips. Here is how to offer a newsletter. Do not offer someone a newsletter. Nobody wants more mail. What they want are answers. What they want are pieces of information or entertainment. Nobody is out there asking for more snail mail, but boy, I love it when Nordstrom sends a coupon. You know what I mean? So when you say, sign up for my email, no thanks. Sign up for my joke of the day, all right. You know, or the whole sign up thing makes it sound like a transaction. I'll send you, tips and insights on, fill in the blank, something they want or something they don't realize is the answer to what they need. That's how you get people to sign up, because they're already following you on social because they're interested in what you share. And I'm not talking about your friends. Your friends don't care about your newsletter. But maybe your friends are also your ideal reader. Maybe they do see you as a subject matter expert. I mean, all of you are subject matter experts, and some of you are memoirists and saying, no, I'm not. Au contraire, mon frère. Candace Cahill, who can't be here tonight, but she's a moderator in the group, her book about her journey being a first mother and child relinquishment makes her an expert, because she's an advocate for birth mothers, for biological mothers. So yes, she's not saying, hey, sign up for my newsletter, because that doesn't tell someone what they get. Just like when you buy shampoo, they don't say, buy this bottle of soap for your hair. I mean, if they do, that's weird. They say, buy this and you'll feel so attractive. You'll smell great. Your hair will be shiny, or you'll get rid of your dandruff or your frizzy hair. So people want to avoid something. They want to remove the negative. They want to add a positive. They are not looking for a bottle of soap, just like they are not looking for more mail. But they are looking for your advice. So give it to them. And don't hurt yourself writing your newsletters. People like bite size. If it's longer than half a page, it's not scannable. I mean, the email I sent today was too long. If any of you got it, I just was sort of on a roll and I was like, wow. And then I went back and like deleted half of it and it was still too long. But I'm trying not to be a perfectionist. So next question. I have some articles that I've written but not pitched or not had accepted, even though I thought they were pretty good. I got totally burned by a situation where I thought a publication was going to publish this, but then they didn't. I don't want the article to go to waste. What do I do? Well, first of all, that publication they're dingbats. So forget them and move on. So shake it off. Second, remember that you're in service of the people who need your message. So you feel called to share this. It's not, where can I pitch it because I really want to publish it. There's a universal pull for the information you're sharing, for your advice, even if it's your memoir, for your message, right? People need to hear this. They need to understand it. They need to know it. They need to read it. They need it in long form. They need it in, 5 tips. They need it in many, many different containers. So keep pitching. Find where that audience is and share that with them. I think this question is more about where should I pitch it, but I think I've already covered that. The people who need what you have, they're already Googling for those solutions or ideas or desires, or they're already trying to solve their problems using, Mr. Google. So Google it and Google will help you, because it will fill in the blank when you say, how do I get a book published? Boy, when I type that in, a lot of stuff comes up. I'm like, oh, that's where all those people are. Okay, great. Let me share a couple things. How do I promote my book? Well, I don't know anybody who has my background. I know a lot of publicists who have worked for publishers, but that's not Fortune 50 marketing. And those publishers' marketing budgets per book are about, on average, like $8,500. $8,500, less than $9,000 for a book. Like that's, I don't know what you could do with that. That's, I mean, I've written dozens of $1 million campaigns, and not about ad spend, but about where you reach the people who need your message or your empowerment. So I just feel like, well, there's a place for what I'm sharing. So buckle down and use Google. Spend 15 minutes and you can do it. Don't hire a publicist. This person is asking the next question. Like I have other stories that are finished, but kind of not. I don't think I can afford a publicist. I don't think you need a publicist. I think you need a pitch template, which is, dear editor, I saw this in your publication and would like to add to it in this way, and write an article for this section of your media outlet about fill in the blank. That's how every pitch I write starts. So you can use this transcript. And then you write 4 sentences about what's in the article. The article would cover this, this, and this, and describe how people want this, but they are presented with this obstacle, or they are trying to, I don't know, avoid having to buy a new car, but they can't find a mechanic who can fix the car that they have. Well, here's how. I'm just trying to come up with like problem solution. This article will present 3 options that can offer, anyone in this situation, which is presented now to, 1 in 5 families. Because it's important that you give perspective of like, why is this a thing? Well, it's a thing because people are complaining, or they're losing their jobs because they can't get to work, because they're like mechanics are, this is a true example, they're completely booked. You can't get your, Jeep Cherokee in to the mechanic for a couple months, even if you have 200,000 miles on it. True story, because I met a guy at the gas station the other day and I asked him about like, oh, do you like the Jeep Cherokee? I don't know why I talk to people like that, but I was interested. And he's like, oh, I love them. This is my 5th one. I'm like, that seems like a commitment. And he said, well, I put hundreds of thousands of miles on them and I drive for a living. Like he must be like a traveling encyclopedia salesperson. And he said, oh, and they run forever, but you do have to have something rebuilt every once in a while, but it takes a while to get into the mechanic. I was like, I have never heard of such a thing. So there you go. Okay, this is the last question that came in, and it's about covers for books. About the cover for my book, I have some great art by the most famous artist in the US that represents this person's book. And it's a underserved population. And she gave me permission to use the art that I'm extremely attached to, but I'm nervous that this publisher seems to want to use their own artist and may not want my title either. And this is a tiny publisher. I expected more freedom. Do you have any advice? Yes, I have advice. Number 1, if you are from an underserved, population, and, say you are LGBTQ and identify as pansexual, and your publisher wants to use an art that's by a cis white man who really enjoys hunting, you'd be like, my book is literally about not that. So the publicity for the book, for any book, is also going to include the art. And it doesn't make sense. It's sort of like they're blind to the obvious to say, like, this is an opportunity to herald the cover art by someone that's this book represents. So that is how I would represent it. And maybe they need some other choices, but you have to be a good partner and help them understand the benefit. Maybe they are experts in cover art, and they're like, well, those, sometimes it literally is, those colors don't sell books, or those, we need the cover art to include this type of imagery. Like if a book gets sold into Target actually gets approval of the cover, and sometimes they make you change the colors because they don't want it to be like an eyesore on their shelves. So there's that. So you have to know that their designers have that perspective, because this isn't their first rodeo. And maybe you love that artist, but it really is a team effort, and they want your book to sell. And you want the art that you've always envisioned, but you also want your team's insights and expertise. And I'm with you. I think it's a problem if a publisher says, we understand, like for Rachel Zemak, who is a deaf writer, writing a memoir and essentially a self-help about deaf education. And if her publisher says, we'd like to get this hearing artist because we think that they have the perfect cover, they might. But it's such a great opportunity for them to choose art from one of the hundreds of deaf artists, because it becomes a publicity. One, it's in alignment with Rachel's desires, I think. And two, it's an opportunity for marketing in the book. So why wouldn't they, right? So that's how I would approach it as a team member, and assuming the positive. And in the end, they get to make the call, but they're not going to want a pissed off author. And, authors are protective of their work. So I would go with that. Those are the pre-questions. So I'm going to go over here to the chat. Oh, look at that. 27, childlessness. Sue, like, we were talking about the where to find those people. If you're writing about childlessness, I would look at articles or any interviews with Tracy Ross. Her last name escapes me, but she was on Blackish, and she does a lot of interviews about choosing to not have children or be married, and how she's actually fulfilled, and what a concept. So I would look at where she talks about it, because I think it's a lot of women's magazines.
Her name is Tracy Ross Ellis.
Ellis, thank you. Thanks, Carol.
Welcome.
Let me go down. James asked, did I say the National Historians Conference? The National Historians Association has a conference and it might be like the American Association of Historians, whatever it is.
Somebody posted a link. I found it.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, because I was looking into it. I was like, I love working with historians, so I'm like, maybe I should go. Rachel and Carol both had questions about companion pieces, about are you chipping, that essentially that this question comes up a lot. Are you chipping away at your manuscript if you are pitching pieces of your manuscript
Right.
as pieces to be published? Now,
Yeah.
if you don't have a publisher yet, I would not do that much.
Okay.
Because you have plenty of things to write about, but you've written a work that hangs together. Now,
Right.
I can't remember how long your book is, but if you've written a memoir and it's 80,000 words,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to cut,
85,000.
okay, well, you're gonna have to cut 20,000 words anyway. So find the essays that can be companion pieces, because nobody's going to publish an 85,000 word memoir of a debut writer. I'm sorry, but it's not done anymore. So pitch those. But also, there are plenty of things that like raise your hackles, right? So let that guide you. It doesn't have to be raise your hackles, like that piss you off. You know, if you see something out there and you think, really, I would like to write something about that, then go ahead. It doesn't have to be something that's already polished and perfect and, you know, feels like you're removing a jigsaw puzzle piece from a complete jigsaw. Maybe it's just an 800-word essay or, you know, piece for Thrive Global, right? It doesn't have to be an excerpt. But if you do want to submit excerpts, just know that your publisher, your future publisher, will want to keep those to a minimum, because people, they want more of what you've done, but they don't want to read the same thing that made them interested in you in the first place that much. Yeah. So I think the rule used to be like 30% could be, I mean, sort of the rule of thumb. This is an urban legend. 30% could be previously published, but I think it's even less now. Plus, you have other things to say. So I would trust that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Let's see. Kim's last name is Clark. Deborah's asking, it's Clark with an E on the end. And let's see. Deborah Lucas says, I'll be back next year. Aw, I do definitely cut through the crap. I also use curse words. And I have grown up thinking the well-placed curse word is just a literary tool, correct? And I'm just saying this in case anybody's like, "Ooh, she's spicy." Well, I worked in lifestyle branding forever and ever. And the things I had to do to learn about the consumer, sometimes I was launching like products for young men. They're just dudes. Instead of focus groups, I would have to go bar hopping with them, because why wouldn't you, right? And observe them in their own habitat / frat houses that smelled like, I just won't even say. And then sometimes we would get like a video of like, here are two people on a date. And like, this feels like porn. Like, are we at work in Chicago on the Magnificent Mile? Is this serious? Are you seriously like, yeah, or like learning about the dudes? Like, I think this is an X-rated movie. Like I'm out. Okay, Rachel asks, this is a great question and very thoughtful. She was interviewed and it made it into a long article in a magazine, but only in paper form, not digital. So yes, you can share it. Here's what you do. You, first of all, you have, I'm assuming, paper copies. And on your phone, on notes, there is a function of scanning. So scan it, and your phone actually will take pictures that are like PDFs of an image of a piece of paper, and they'll be perfect. So take those, make them PDFs, and then use those to put on your website. And that way people can actually read the article, and also take a picture of the masthead, the title of the publication, because you definitely want to have their logo. It's nice to have that. And I use my phone all the time for that sort of thing. I was published in Pen in Hand. It's a Maryland Association of Writers book, an anthology. And I was like, like, no, there's no website. It's just like a link to the publication. I'm like, no, I don't think anybody wants to have to like fish through to read my piece. So I just took a picture of it. But yes, you can do that. And you could, Mona says, rightly, can you get permission to copy? I would let them know and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Do you have any problem with it? That way, you're not really asking permission. You're asking them to define the issues that they might have with you promoting their magazine. They'll be hard pressed to do so. It's not like you're going to be printing it out and charging for it. Yes, and as seen in this pub is perfect. Oh my goodness, it's 9 o'clock already and we haven't. Oh, thank you, Mona, for posting the YouTube above in the query video. Okay, well, here's the thing. It is time for me just to make some announcements. First of all, happy holidays to everybody. I hope that everybody stays safe and not sick, and that everyone has all the boosters. And next year, I can't believe it. First of all, I can't believe I'm this old. I wish I could do a do-over and start at 23 again. Next year, we are going to kick off the year on January 11th with the founder of She Writes Press to talk about hybrid publishing, because there's a path for everyone, and I don't care who you are. And the days are gone of like, you need a traditional publisher. People are leaving traditional publishing to start hybrid presses or to start small presses where they, instead of 300 titles a year, they publish 13 or 2. So there's always a way. One of my clients has written 7 books, all with university presses, and she just now got her first agent because she wants a traditional publisher this time. Like, okay, great. Because her last book got a positive New York Times review. She was like, great, called the publisher. They didn't make more copies. So that was a freaking bummer. Like, it would have been a bestseller, but it was a small university press and they only made so many copies, and that was that. So she was like, yeah, I'm not going through that again. So there's that. So her name is Brooke Warner. She will join Allison Hong Merrill and myself, because Allison published her book 99 Fire Hoops with She Writes after 149 rejections. 149. Okay, a couple more things. So January 11th, we'll continue with the compassionate critique session. So if you haven't come to that, make sure you come with a page, a priority, a problem. We break into groups of 3 and you get instant input from other writers who understand. And even if you're starting out fresh, if you have an expertise that you think would benefit this community, please DM me. This is an open invitation. I don't have the bandwidth to create a campaign and, ask, but if you are sitting on some sort of expertise or, the graphic design or website design, or you would like to show some befores and afters, I don't care what it is, photography, please let me know. Thank you guys for coming.